Hi guys, it's Poober here. Thanks for joining me on yet another Factorio map tour. This time we're doing a tour that is neither creative, aesthetically pleasing, or beautiful. And that's because we're starting on my first ever Factorio gameplay. Done over a year ago, it's the first time I was ever in the game, so this map has very humble beginnings. I definitely didn't know what I was doing, but if you'd like to see how I've evolved from this to this, then keep watching. So we are starting off this tour at the end game portion of my map where we have our rocket and satellite production going on. This is done via these assemblers with the main components brought in by robots. We don't have many robots in our system, only about 150 construction and 400 logistic robots in our network currently. Not a whole lot, and definitely not maxed out on research, so they're not even all that fast. And if I were smarter, I would have made more at the time, but this was my first base, so I still had a lot to learn. This is one of our train stations where robots do bring ore to the respected boxes here, where it then gets transported via these very spaghetti fashion-like belts. Wiggling around here past my science factory, and then getting taken up to my main furnace stations over here. This is the only part where any ore gets smelted in my entire factory. We have 24 furnaces devoted to iron and copper, and then half that, 12 furnaces, to steel production. And then if you notice, what we're missing in this map is a main bus system. We've got our iron and copper products that don't really have a main bus they go to. About half of those products go into our research science factory, which is done here. As you can see, it's still pretty modest. It still has the small electric poles, yellow belts, and it definitely takes a long time to research anything. And then the other half, basically, of our ore products that are smelted go into our circuit and odds and ends production. We've got our red circuit production here. This was also another person's design. Also not the quickest way to make red circuits, but it was good for a beginning Factorio player. And then about a quarter of our iron and copper goes into our green circuit production and our blue circuit production up here. One thing you'll notice with the green circuit production, it does not meet the standard 3 copper to 2 green circuit ratio. This is only a 1-to-1 ratio, which is definitely not proportional. And then that is fed into, again, another factory that is not proportional, these blue circuit production here. There's only 4 that we have to supply my entire factory, and these are fed red circuits from only 2 here. Basically, these 2 little assemblers are trying to feed these 4, and that's it. And one thing I'm noticing here is that this one isn't even working. The pipes are not getting what they need. Let's fix that here real quick. Whoop. Alright, at least they'll start having all 4 blue circuit assemblers working right now. Oh man, what was I thinking? And then up here, this is where we have all of my items that are used in the factory being built. So we have boxes, we have belts, we have engines, our robots. These are all supplied via robot and produced by one assembly machine. Very sad. It's not efficient at all. Another one of those scenarios where I didn't know how to efficiently make entire factories for these productions, so it was done via robot supply. To the right of my little path here is where we have our oil production. Definitely way too many tanks for the supply that we have, which is pretty much nothing at this point. We have pretty much no crude oil and very little petroleum gas, way too much lubricant, and definitely not enough oil pumps working to give us the oil that we need. We can go follow this winding path a little bit to our main oil unbarreling section, which is over here. It is brought in via train for the most part at this point, although we do have a couple pump jacks on site, and then barreled here. And then these trains are very inefficient as well. They are on a loop cycle. They don't even have the standard like 1-2-1 type train. It's just one followed by the two train wagons, and it just loops back on itself. Over here we have some very sad looking boilers and steam engines going on. They're not getting the coal that they need. Our factory is not in very good shape. Here we have another train depot. This one's even sadder. It only has one wagon followed by the train at the front, where we have a lot of coal just sitting around in these boxes but not getting to where it actually needs to go. Again, our train system is entirely loop-based. I definitely didn't really have it figured out quite yet. In fact, we've got train stops that are used in place of signals because I couldn't figure out how to keep trains moving past their destination without adding a train stop to do that. Over here, this wasteland of solar panels and solar arrays, it looks very sad. Looks like it was a well-intentioned addition to electricity production that our robots haven't gotten around to finishing quite yet. More sad train stations and farming stations. Gosh, they're all empty in terms of being depleted in their supply. Another thing I hadn't figured out at the time was it's beneficial to put miners on the entire patch instead of just on the sides like I did here. Pretty much no defense as well that you might notice. Nothing's really protected, but I also haven't had too many biter attacks going on, probably because my base is so inefficient. It's not really producing much, so it's also not producing much pollution to go along with that. Here's another train stop. Oddly, we have ore and some oil being transported via belts this way. Instead of the trains going to the farming station, we still have belts being trafficked from far away from their main farming depots. Definitely not efficient. All of my defense, for the most part, is still done with turret, and they are, not surprisingly, running out of ammo because we don't have any robots feeding any ammo into the turrets. That was before I figured out that that was an option in the game. So let's take a look kind of at the center of our base here. This was my attempt at being organized with our storage here, which wasn't a very good attempt. And then we have my entire army and defense setup right here. And this is also supplied via robots into requester chests and capped out in boxes. So I really don't have a whole lot on hand, even if I did get in trouble and need that. Well, I think that sums up this very sad, very humble first base tour. I've definitely come a long ways, but I'm hoping you guys will join me in 0.15 when that drops soon.